Welcome to Rick's Scale Model Fix, and in this video we're looking at Eduard's brand new limited edition Adlertag, which is the Messerschmitt BF110 CD in the Battle of Britain, and it's to 1/48 scale. So taking a look at the instruction sheet or booklet, it's quite thick. It's got some lovely glossy artwork there on the front, repeating what we've seen on the box top. Bit of a blurb about the history of the type in that battle. That's continued onto pages 2, 3 before we get to the parts map on page 4. So anyone that's built the 110 from Eduard in the past will be familiar with the box contents. Some parts are there greyed out, not to be used. We've got photo etch parts, canopy mask, and some resin bits and pieces for the gun by the looks of it. Unsurprisingly, construction begins with the cockpit, and anything highlighted in red, as we can see here, needs to be removed if you wish to use the optional etched parts or even decals that are mentioned there on the instruction booklet. So you've got the raised surface detail from the kit itself, the etched parts, or even a decal. So detail in the cockpit area looks really substantial. It's going to be interesting that you're going to have to keep your eye on which of the marking options you're building. And as we work our way through into the rear gunner's position, it's interesting that the seat actually moves. So the cannon bays, the radio gear, cockpit floor and the tub. So really quite a very detailed cockpit there. Everything coming together in part 8 with the sidewalls, magazines, etc. coming together before the fuselage halves are joined together there with some more detail. Again, good use of etch, especially as you can see quite a lot with those canopy hatches open, as we'll see. Moving on to the nose, and we've got a lot of cannon detail, cannon bay detail there, should you wish to depict that open. Nose being joined to the fuselage then, and work starting to be commenced on the wings and engine nacelles. Nacelles added to the wings on page 12, and then it says glue the wheel well sides strictly after the engine nacelles are glued onto the wings. So a little bit of help there from Eduard, just say maybe a problem. Everything coming together on page 13. So we've got now the wings joining the fuselage with the tailplane, tail wheel, ailerons, undercarriage next. So we may want to leave that until painting's been completed. So we've got exhausts there which are noted as being individual items, so that's going to test your patience, making sure they're all lined up. But some helpful tips from Eduard again, saying we recommend to glue J24 to 32 exhaust bases to the engine nacelles first, then glue the exhaust pipes to the bases. Massive greenhouse canopy on the 110. Thankfully most of it can be posed open, so you can see all that cockpit detail, so it's worth spending some time there. So for the marking in the kit L, which we'll have a look later, we've got the resin gun being made up and added to the kit there. And then next up we've got a fuel tank, bombs, centerline and some crew figures. It's nice to see that we've also got a worktop or a workbench with some tools and other figures with some ammo belts and building up the ammo chutes and feeding the ammo chutes there, the boxes up. It should be interesting to add a little bit to your diorama. Canopy masks showing the position of those there before we get onto the markings. So the markings, we've got quite a few in various schemes. I'll not go through them all. So we've got 1771 over 65, 1771 over 65 again, (1771 over 02). So they're all slightly different. Oh, quite interesting. So there we go. And maybe a slight different with a white nose. This one's got oversprayed of the numbers and the crosses there. Sharp mouth one. Option J with that underslung cannon. I might actually be doing that one. A couple of more with some extensive mottling, or if you prefer to, you're not too clever with the airbrush and you don't want to do the mottling, you've got the solid camouflage colours down the side there as well. And last but not least, stencil data placement guide to round things off. So all in all, it looks to be a very nice package from Eduard. I'm not going to remove the decals from the packaging at the moment. It's quite comprehensive for all the marking options. They look well printed. Bit of controversy about Eduard decals at the moment about as to how they've designed them, but I'll leave that up to the individual modeller. And on the back, swastikas are provided but broken up into pieces. And there's that instrumentation and cockpit detail, should you wish to use it instead of the etch. As always with the Profi Pack and special editions with the Eduard kits is the colour photo etch. And this is no different, with a couple of instrument panels there. And on the other side, some details for grills, rudder pedals and the like. Canopy masks, which is going to be a massive time saver, certainly with the greenhouse canopy on this model. And then we have some resin parts, and these look really nice. So this is for the one option in the kit. Just to quickly get these out onto the workbench. So we've got the fairing, which is nicely cast, so thin. We've got a detail on the inside as well. The cannon itself, which is absolutely stunning in its detail. The fairings for the under the nose and the mounting brackets and the ammunition drum. So I'll just put those away before we lose any other parts. Looking at some of the fuselage parts on this sprue, and we've got two sprues containing different fuselage sections. Whether they're both used in the kit, I'll just have to quickly check, but one has got some conduit ducting running down the fuselage side there, so we'll have to check to see which one is employed with the build and the separate marking options, not to get them confused. So detail is typical Eduard, lovely engraved panel lines and rivet detail. Kit is starting to show its age though, and it's got some flash, especially around these cannon bay apertures, and even the sides of the fuselage. It's starting to deteriorate there, so it's going to be some clean-up required before the parts will fit properly, unfortunately. Nothing a quick swipe with a sanding stick won't cure, but it's just starting to show signs of the age of the tooling. The wings don't show any sign of the flash that the fuselage parts that we've just looked at did. They seem to be a very matte finish to the plastic. Lovely fine recessed rivet detail and engraved panel lines there, so no massive worries with that one. No ejector pins that are going to foul the mating surfaces or anything like that. So on this sprue we've got the props, cockpit floor, ailerons and cockpit sidewalls. Again, there's a little bit of flash creeping in, especially noticeable on the wheels there, but again, nothing a quick sand with the sanding stick won't cure. It's nice to see that we've got the flat instrument panel there ready for the etch, so there's no grinding of any surface detail required. This sprue contains 3 different instrument panels, all with raised detail. The tail planes, sorry, the vertical tail units and the engine nacelles. Again, no sign of flash on these parts, everything looking nice. Just got a bit of flash there, nothing again that won't clean up with a sanding stick. Some smaller details on this sprue, tail wheel, undercarriage legs, etc. Again, all nicely moulded. Bit of flash creeping in on that sprue as well, but nothing too much. On this one we've got the flight crew, ground crew and that workbench and its associated parts to build that up. This sprue contains the exhaust stacks and some smaller details around the airframe and the cockpit. Everything looks to be nice there. There's no flash on this sprue. We've got the rudder pedals, different types of rudder pedals there, and exhaust stacks like we said, and some cannons, ammo, drums and the like. Before we get onto the clear parts, the last sprue contains some drop tanks, motor tubes, rocket pods and the like, and also noticed that there's one of the weapons racks already missing off that sprue, so that should hopefully be floating around in the bag somewhere. And last but not least are the clear parts. These are well moulded. I'm not going to remove these from the bag because some of them have already come away from the sprue, as you can see in there, so I don't want to damage them further. But 2 sprues are included in the kit, covering all elements of the glasswork on the model. So there we have Eduards 1/48 scale Messerschmitt BF110 special edition Adlertag in 1/48 scale. But just before I leave you, we'll just confirm the position on these fuselage halves during the build. So it is important. The first reference to the different fuselage halves is in the first step on page 5, but it says question mark marking L only, and that shows B1 and B2. So obviously the sprue Q that's got the fuselage halves on and sprue B, and that's not referenced until the bottom of page 9, where it tells you which fuselages correspond to which build. So I think that could have been a little bit better thought out by Eduard, because you could have actually made work for yourself there with selecting perhaps B1, B2 when you don't actually need those fuselages. So it might have been better to just put that at the beginning of the instruction build sequence. So there we have Eduards Adlertag, another limited edition Battle of Britain release from the Czech company. And well worth picking up. I think the box art and the information booklet that comes with them are fantastic. I've certainly picked up the other Spitfire and the Messerschmitt 109 releases. So there we go. So happy modelling and take care, look after yourselves and keep well until next time.